Hello, glad you can join us. Here's what's going on. Winding down, clipping Air Canada's wings.
No one wants a strike. We love what we do.
The push to be heard and paid accordingly.
Just reckless, careless, stunt driving.
Our premier holds an alleged dangerous driver accountable.
Canada does what we tell them to do.
Plus, Trump talks us down again before taking off for Alaska.
CTV National News with Sandy Ronaldo.
Well, start to look for options if you have plans to fly Air Canada over the next few days now that talks are at an impasse and some 10,000 flight attendants have voted to strike. The national airline began the gradual suspension of flights, a dozen by tonight, 500 by tomorrow, and by Saturday, 1 a.m. Eastern, a complete grounding of all flights.
We're not trying to be disruptive. We just need to have fair wages.
Union members calling out unpaid work after a silent protest that abruptly ended the news conference where airline officials were briefing the public. CTV's Sean Leithong is covering this story for all angles for us today from Toronto's Pearson International Airport. Hey, Sean.
Hi, Sandy. CUPE says that their flight attendants make less than minimum wage, while the airline says this offer would make them the highest paid in the country. Two very different stories being told as the airline nears a shutdown. Storming in on their employer, about 24 Air Canada flight attendants picket inside a news conference that was organized by the airline.
We want to be seen, we want to be heard, we want to be valued for the work that we do.
Members stand holding signs accusing Air Canada of forcing unpaid work. This as the airline begins canceling flights, winding down operations towards a total shutdown.
It's simply not the kind of system that we can start or stop at the push of a button.
At the start of the day, Air Canada leadership outlined what the shutdown would look like. It includes several dozen cancellations Thursday, around 500 cancellations on Friday, with all flights grounded by Saturday if a deal is not reached in time. The first cancellations to be mostly international long-haul flights set to take off Thursday night. At Pearson Airport in Toronto, an information desk has been set up to help travelers who are concerned.
I'm concerned about getting back from my destination. That's about it.
I'm hoping it'll be very short-lived and resolved really quickly. If not, I guess we're finding another ride home.
The airline saying all canceled flights will be offered a refund as they try to rebook for those who are stranded, but seats are limited.
And it looks like we're going to have to pay out of pocket probably about $900 for a new flight.
We are extremely disappointed by CUPE's decision, which threatens to disrupt the travel plans of more than 130,000 customers a day.
The airline saying their latest offer, a 38% raise, including benefits, that would make Air Canada the best compensated flight attendants in the country.
One of the lowest rates.
Bargaining team member Natasha Steya says the airline isn't being truthful.
We're not the highest paid, and with the increase that they're proposing, we still would not be the highest paid.
As both sides argue over compensation and what the union is calling unpaid work, at this point, there's little either side can agree on.
We have been at the table, sitting and waiting. We've been talking with the conciliators. We've been there. But the employer, they left.
We never left the table. We are engaged throughout the entire process.
Air Canada has asked the federal government to step in and force mediation, with Federal Labour Minister Patty Hajdu saying the government is available, but I urge both parties to put their differences aside, come back to the bargaining table, and get this done now for the many travelers who are counting on you. Labour Minister Patty Hajdu adding to that statement today, saying that the union has requested that they wait until noon on Friday before making a decision about binding arbitration, and she has granted that request. Right. Sandy.
Okay, Sean, thanks so much for this. Now let's talk more about the impact of a strike. It could be profound. So if you're one of those holding tickets and looking for alternatives, we've got you covered. CTV's Adrian Gobriel has checked out some of the options and joins us now. Adrian, what do you have?
Sandy, there are other airlines that operate, like right here at Toronto's Billy Bishop Airport, that haven't been impacted by this labor dispute. Now, while their ticket prices are getting expensive, if your flight has been canceled, air passenger rights advocates say it's actually Air Canada that should be footing the bill. Labor stoppage or not, you should still be able to get off the ground, according to industry watchers.
If you already have an Air Canada ticket booked and paid for, then Air Canada has to buy you a ticket.
In the case of an active strike, which is classified as outside an airline's control, large companies such as Air Canada are required by legislation to rebook customers on a new reservation for the next available flight that is operated by any carrier.
Any carrier means any airline, including but not limited to the airline's competitors.
On their website, Air Canada says customers whose flights are cancelled will be notified and they will be eligible for a full refund. Air passenger rights advocates are advising customers against accepting a reimbursement.
One important thing to remember is do not accept a refund. Refund can be a way for airlines to wash their hands from their obligations to rebook you.
If you don't have a ticket and are looking to book travel in or out of Canada over the next several days, you might be in for a shock. The cheapest round-trip ticket departing Toronto tomorrow and returning from Vancouver next Friday costs more than $1,300. The same week-long round-trip ticket leaving September 5th, returning September 12th, is going for as little as $273. It all comes down to supply and demand that influences strategic pricing by the airlines.
Last-minute ticket prices, which always tend to be higher, and a substantial sudden increase in demand that is pushing prices up due to what might be a strike at Air Canada.
But again, if your ticket has been canceled by Air Canada, then the airline is obligated to buy you another one to your destination. If they refuse, air passenger rights advocates say you should purchase one yourself and send Air Canada the bill. Sandy.
All good information. CTV's Adrian Gabriel. Thanks, Adrian. Now, wildfire emergencies carry on across the country. In Newfoundland's Conception Bay, about 100 homes and structures have been damaged. Premier John Hogan says it's far too dangerous to send crews to get a better count, meaning that as many as 3,000 evacuees have no idea if they'll have homes to go back to. CTV's Garrett Berry went out to chat with some folks. And Garrett, how are they handling the wait?
Sandy, that wait has been excruciating, especially considering just how long some evacuees have been out of their homes.
When I start to do an inventory, I kind of shut down. Like everything precious, every single item precious to me in my life is in Western Bay.
Tanya Kearley-Russell fled her place in Western Bay 10 days ago with whatever she and her husband could fit inside these two vehicles. Now she's in St. John's, but everything else is back at that property, underneath the smoke and the flame from the Kingston wildfire.
Everything that we want important to us in our lives is under that roof.
One area town council did report a preliminary count today of what dwellings have been lost. It includes a heritage schoolhouse. But officials say it's too dangerous to ask anyone to go inside the smoke for a fuller count.
Once these fires are out, and they will be out, and we get into the communities to see what's left and what's gone, we'll work with every individual, every family, every business, every mayor to see how we can rebuild the communities.
Though it is quite windy this evening, there is some good news weather-wise today. These clouds above us bringing humidity, even some rain over parts of the province, both much-needed help for firefighters. Sandy.
Okay, Garrett, thank you. One major wildfire is still burning out of control in New Brunswick. The Oldfield Road fire near Miramichi is over 13 square kilometers in size and burning for a 9th straight day. Multiple planes and a helicopter are helping the fight against the flames. Meantime, the Irish Town fire that was threatening to force hundreds of people in Moncton to evacuate has been contained. Environment Canada has expanded an air quality advisory on Vancouver Island linked to the out-of-control Mount Underwood fire that is burning near Port Alberni. Authorities say despite the smoky skies, at this point the fire is not a threat to nearby residential communities. And dozens of homes have been vacated in Annapolis County, Nova Scotia, due to an out-of-control wildfire. The mandatory evacuation order was issued after the fire, sparked by lightning, grew rapidly overnight. Now, large parts of the Atlantic region have seen fire, but no significant rain in 2 months. CTV's Paul Hollingsworth now on how conditions are contributing to a potentially combustible situation.
The parched summer in Nova Scotia has sparked a high level of wildfire concern.
I haven't seen it like this my whole life. It's not good.
And historically dry, especially for a province that usually receives a steady dose of rainfall.
For the summer season in Nova Scotia, what I would consider a significant rain is a fairly widespread 20 millimeters to fall across the province. The last time that happened was June 8th, so it has been about 2 months.
This security company was temporarily closed, a safety precaution because of its proximity to a nearby wildfire. It serves as a reminder to always be prepared.
There is a certain amount of prevention, and I believe that we need as a province to be more prepared for this. This is going to happen. It's going to continue to happen.
Restaurant owner Costa Ellis says these are the driest conditions he has seen since moving to Canada 50 years ago.
I come from a country that there is wildfires all the time, and you kind of get used to knowing that, oh, there's a fire here and there. So it has been feeling a lot more like Greece here.
And the longer this province goes without rainfall, the more dangerous the situation grows.
We don't have the soil depth like in the prairies. It tends to hold on to that ground moisture longer. We don't have the tall mountains like in BC that continually feed down snow and ice melt from the winter season down to the rivers. So when we go through a period of a couple of months, very dry conditions, things dry out here in the Maritime region very, very quickly.
Paul Hollingsworth, CTV News, Halifax.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre took a break from his by-election campaign in Alberta to announce new roadblocks to try and stop the Liberal government's electric vehicle mandate.
Rural communities in much of Canada would simply cease to exist over the next 10 years without the ability to use gas and diesel-powered vehicles.
The Conservatives are promising a pressure campaign to force the Liberals to repeal the mandate. The campaign will include petitions, motions in Parliament, and events at car dealerships. The current EV mandate requires 20% of new vehicles sold in Canada by next year to be zero emission, with new gas vehicles entirely phased out by 2035. Now, the country's top naval officer says he wants a decision on who will supply Canada's next generation of submarines by the end of the year. Vice Admiral Angus Topshee says a short list needs to be reached quickly to meet the deadline to replace Canada's aging submarines. CTV's Judy Trin has been taking a closer look at some of the contenders. Judy.
Sandy, Canada's fleet of submarines is small and approximately 40 years old. They only have a decade left of seaworthiness before they need to be scrapped. Only one of Canada's submarines is surveilling the deep seas. The other 3 subs are grounded under maintenance, making it difficult to meet military obligations.
It means that we've got 3 oceans to defend, and we have 1 that we can cover. And because we've struggled to get these submarines operational.
All of Canada's submarines were built in the 1980s and will be too old in a decade. The Navy says it requires 12 new conventional diesel-electric-powered submarines in order to effectively patrol the oceans and train its officers. Companies from France, South Korea, Spain, Sweden, and a joint venture from Germany and Norway say they can meet those requirements.
Set revolutions 4-0.
The government plans to decide on a supplier by 2028, but the Navy's top commander wants the timeline moved up by 2 years.
I'd like a short list even sooner than that, and I'd like a decision by the end of the year. I think we can get, it's going to be a lot of work.
The most ambitious pitch came from a South Korean company. Hanwha, which already has vessels in production, says it can deliver the first submarine to Canada by 2032 and 3 more by 2034 and 1 per year after that.
We produce ships and submarines at 40 plus ships and submarines a year. We believe that as we're already producing these are the same submarines that are in use operating right now with the Korean Navy.
But the federal government is looking for more than just speed. The deal will be leveraged to boost the economy.
The lowering of trade barriers, access to markets, commitments to invest in Canada. It could be based on the final decision could be based on a whole lot of non-military factors.
Each submarine will cost about $2 billion to build. The U.S. is not a factor in this decision because it doesn't make conventional submarines, only nuclear ones. Sandy.
All right, Judy. U.S. President Donald Trump said today that when it comes to border security, both in the north and the south, he is making all the decisions.
And Mexico does what we tell them to do, and Canada does what we tell them to do.
Trump has repeatedly cited border security as a reason for imposing tariffs on Canada. One day to go until the eagerly anticipated Alaska summit, where the U.S. president will sit down with Vladimir Putin. Donald Trump says Russia's leader, quote, wants to get it done, in reference to ending the war in Ukraine. CTV's Rachel Aiello now on what's at stake, the expectations, and the goal. Rachel.
Sandy, the U.S. president's stated intention for this much-anticipated Alaskan meeting is to try to broker a deal to bring an end to the war in Ukraine. Final preparations are underway in Alaska, at the U.S. military base where the high-stakes summit is taking place.
I want to see if I can stop the killing.
Tomorrow, U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin will sit down face-to-face. Today, Putin called Trump's efforts to stop hostilities energetic and sincere, though Trump tempered expectations about this meeting ending with a truce.
The more important meeting will be the second meeting that we're having. We're going to see what happens. And I think President Putin will make peace. I think President Zelensky will make peace. We'll see if they can get along. And if they can, it'll be great.
Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky won't be in Anchorage, but Trump said a second summit between the three world leaders could come soon after. Today, Zelensky met with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and the pair emerged optimistic about the chance for peace, so long as Putin agrees to a ceasefire deal that protects Ukraine's territorial integrity.
If President Trump somehow manages to cajole that out of them, that will be the best possible outcome.
Today, Kremlin and White House officials confirmed that Trump and Putin plan to hold a joint press conference once their talks conclude. But Trump later said he could decide to go solo if the meeting doesn't go well. Sandy?
Okay, Rachel. Coming up, encounter with a premier.
He shouldn't have been driving. He hit us over 200 kilometers an hour.
Sideswiped by the same driver who allegedly killed a young father. The Ontario government is ordering its public service workers back to the office full-time.
I believe everyone's more productive when they're at work. And how do you mentor someone over a phone? You can't. You got to look at them eye to eye, over the water cooler, wherever, train them, camaraderie.
60,000 Ontario civil servants will be required to be in the office 4 days a week starting in October and 5 days a week in the new year. More than half of the province's workers are already in the office full-time. Now, we're hearing from the province's premier today about a deadly crash north of Toronto that took the life of a father of three. Doug Ford is sharing more about his own harrowing experience, allegedly with the same driver. Let's bring in CTV's John Woodward, who's been covering this story for us. John.
Sandy, Doug Ford seemed grave and emotional as he recalled what happened to him here on Highway 401 back in January. He also described conversations with the family of the victim, and the premier said he believes he could have died too.
Just frustrating, it's heart-aching.
Ontario's premier responding to questions from CTV News about a deadly crash that claimed the life of Andrew Christillo and seriously injured his three daughters earlier this month.
I talked to his father, and it's just heart-wrenching. You think of three young girls, you know, his wife that has cancer. Everyone has to pitch in and help this family. It's terrible.
The premier with a personal connection. The same driver charged with dangerous driving causing death in that case, 18-year-old Jaywin Kirubananthan, is also charged with dangerous driving in a crash with the premier's motorcade in January on Highway 401 in Pickering, just east of Toronto. Do you worry that that could have been you?
Well, it could have, like 3-4 inches more. He hit me right on my door, going over 200 kilometers an hour. We didn't even know it hit us. We were just driving straight. And he swooped across 3 lanes from an on-ramp, just reckless, careless, stunt driving, and yeah, we're lucky literally by inches.
The case launched an outpouring of support for Cristillo's family, the kids in hospital. Compounding the tragedy, their mom, Christina, was already fighting advanced breast cancer. An online fundraiser to provide for the girls has raised more than $425,000 so far. The case prompting questions about whether more can be done to restrict drivers charged with dangerous acts. The Premier said he would look into it, but didn't want to say too much.
I better stop because I don't want any problems when he goes to court.
Kiru Bananthan is considered innocent unless proven guilty. He's in custody now. A decision on whether to grant him bail will be made on Friday. We did learn that the driver didn't face any restrictions on his driving pending trial because he was given a summons to appear in court, not arrested and subjected to a bail hearing. Lawyers tell us that's very common. Sandy?
CTV's John Woodward. Still ahead, how a dusty diamond hit a Little League team from left field. The first major Atlantic storm of the season is churning towards the northern Caribbean. Tropical storm Erin has prompted warnings of heavy rains and dangerous swells. The storm is expected to become a hurricane tomorrow as it moves through the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. There was an unplanned stop for an Ottawa transit bus. This viewer video shows a bus hitting an overhead sign at a shopping mall. The bus was out of service at the time and made a wrong turn. There were no passengers on board at the time. And a Little League baseball game in New York State had to wait for the dust to settle, literally. These 11-year-olds had to duck and make a run for it when a dust devil tore through the diamond. The whirlwind lasted about 30 seconds before play could resume. After the break, the Future Chronicles. Athletic androids compete for Best in Show. A glimpse into the future of sports kicked off in Beijing with the very first humanoid robot games. Well, if you're expecting to see them take over athletics, then these aren't the drones you're looking for. It was a rough start to a soccer match, one machine malfunctioning and being carried off the field. Here they are testing their speed in track and field and also showcasing choreography and musical performances. And in true Olympic style, the robots marched around the track in a parade of hundreds of teams. More than 500 competitors will showcase their talents over the 3-day event. And that is it for us. Thank you for sharing your time with us this Thursday. I'm Sandy Ronaldo. Your local CTV News is coming up. Be well. Bye-bye.